What's up, you guys? It's Miles Away back again once again. And today I felt like going down memory lane. I felt a bit nostalgic because I was just so obsessed with this album we're talking about today. I was 10 years old when this album dropped, actually 9 turning 10. And the album we're talking about is none other than the Emancipation of Mimi. Come on now. One of the highlight albums of my childhood. Growing up as a millennial, this album was inescapable. Before we get into this, make sure y'all like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. I'm going to be doing a whole lot more with this channel, and I can't wait for y'all to see it. Let's get into it. Let's talk about the Emancipation of Mimi. So Mariah Carey, 1/3 of the Holy Trinity, vocal songbird supreme, iconic songwriter and producer that she is. She released her 10th studio album, Emancipation of Mimi, on April 12th, 2005. Many consider this album to be her comeback album. In the beginning of the 2000s, she released Glitter and Charm Bracelet. One was more infamous than the other for various reasons, even though it was truly, truly unwarranted because honestly, I listened to Glitter. Glitter is not nearly as bad. At least the album isn't as bad as the movie. Glitter, the album is not bad at all. The movie is like, Mariah Carey's acting skills are choppy at best, hit or miss. But anyways, people counter her out. People consider her to have been a has-been. So she went back in the studio and put that work in. She released the first single from the album called It's Like That. The second single was We Belong Together. The third single was Shake It Off. Iconic songs. The album debuted at #1 on the Billboard charts, sold over 400,000 copies on the first week, and as of right now has sold over 10 million albums worldwide. Imagine people telling you that you're a has-been, and you come back and sell over 10 million albums. Like, come on now, like, legend. So after the release of Charm Bracelet in 2002, she would spend the next year and a half cultivating what all the songs that we know to be on Emancipation of Mimi. She titled the album The Emancipation of Mimi after L.A. Reid heard one of her friends call her by her nickname Mimi, and she said that only her close friends call her Mimi. That's why nobody ever knows about it, but she decided to title the album Emancipation of Mimi. That way her fans can get a closer look and a closer insight and just feel more that stronger connection between them and her. Now we can't imagine not calling her Mimi. When asked about the recording process, she described making this album as a party. Her and Jermaine Dupri reunited after working on her iconic Butterfly album, one of my personal favorite albums by her. In the studio, they would use live musicians for a lot of the songs, for a lot of the ballads to give that that strong musicality to it. Ironically, a lot of the artists that we hear on this album were in the same studio at the same time as Mariah and would collaborate with her. People such as Twista, Nelly, and Snoop Dogg. These collaborations would lead to a lot of authentic and fun moments on this album that we just cannot get enough of. She would also start working with some newer faces as well. During this time, she worked with the Neptunes. While the Neptunes were not fully new, they had a lot of music in the mid-90s up until they started ruling 2000s. You could not escape the Neptune sound in the 2000s, and it was Mariah's turn. She also worked with Kanye West, who was just becoming, the legendary rapper he is today. Honestly, if the early 2000s R&B was an album, this would be the definition in the book right here, because you had everybody who was anybody at the time working on this album. And then you add to the fact of who this album is for, the iconic voice who is attached to this album. It'll be more of a surprise if this album failed than the fact that it had a huge success run. So like I said, we had Twista, Nelly, and Snoop Dogg who have had a string of hits back to back to back during this time. Kanye West, again, I think he had just released College Dropout around this time, so you know how big that was. And then Jermaine Dupri, who had just finished having like a couple singles on Monica's album, like You Should Have Known Better. He just finished working with Bow Wow on Fresh As I'm Is, Like You, and Let Me Hold You. And then to top it all off, Jermaine Dupri just also finished working with Usher on his monumental Confessions album. The Emancipation of Mimi was just set up to win. Thematically, the Emancipation of Mimi doesn't stray too far from her previous two albums, Glitter and Charm Bracelet. She sings about similar topics, so really it's not too far gone for the average Mariah listener. However, sonically, that's where she garnered a lot of her praise, and with the production of this album. Like she said, when she was recording this album, it was a party. And a lot of that feeling comes through with this album. A lot of these songs are upbeat, joyous, and celebratory in sound, which marks the departure from her previous albums to where they were like, you know, the Mariah Carey sound. Charm Bracelet, Glitter were the standard Mariah Carey music. Not saying that it's bad at all. They were great albums. But again, standard Mariah Carey with the songs that lead into like the love theme, the ballad heavy, vocal acrobatics, you know, what we know Mariah Carey to do. Like, one can guess what a Mariah Carey post-Butterfly album is going to sound like. It's going to have the fun, bubbly R&B pop records. It's going to give you a huge gospel testimony somewhere in there. You know, whistles, trills, you know, all sorts of things. She's not lacking any of that on this album, but you can definitely hear the flavors of Jermaine Dupri's Southern hip-hop influences in this, which she honestly dives deeper into in the following album, E equals MC squared. She dives even farther into that sound on the next album. Listeners can tell that the Mariah Carey persona is a lot more confident on Mimi. This was a person who was ready to show the world who and what she was, and somebody who had to remind the world that she is the Mariah Carey at the end of the day. That 90s run was no fluke. Hello? I got a quote here, so I need to say this. When asked if she cares if the album sells as much as her previous work, she said, "I've already proven myself with the amount of records I've sold. I've broken records. The industry is different now. People can't put out a record and do what Music Box did. That doesn't really happen anymore because of downloading no matter who it is. So I'm not in competition with myself. This is my best record in a really long time. There's no pressure because I already did what I had to do." Period. Mariah said, "I did what I had to do already." Okay? So at the end of the day, who are y'all? I'm not even in competition with myself. We Belong Together was the most successful single off the album. Mariah said that her and Jermaine Dupri went into this process of the recording the song as wanting to approach it how they did Breakdown and One Sweet Day. So a lot of this song, you know, is rhythmic, and especially in the chorus, like Breakdown, but still got that ballad quality that One Sweet Day has. But this song took on a whole life of its own. We all know that. It's to this day, we all know that We Belong Together is titular in 2000 R&B and pop music. So while I'm saying how great this album was, because it was and it is amazing, unfortunately, Mariah would see that she only would win in the R&B categories during this time instead of any of the main categories, which people thought she was a shoo-in for.
You won 3 awards for R&B. Yes. But you did not win the #1 album of the year, even though you had the #1 album of the year. You did not win Best Song of the Year, even though you had the Best Song of the Year. Why?
You know, it actually means more to me to win in the R&B category.
Mariah.
I promise you, I'm not lying to you. Yes, of course I wanted Album of the Year. Who didn't want that? And I felt I deserved it. Yeah, that would have been great, but you know what? I'm blessed to have gotten the 3 that I got.
Which, unfortunately, is another one of those major Grammy snub moments that we all just love. We all just love them so much. Honestly, y'all, Grammys, y'all owe Mariah Carey so much. Y'all have done her dirty so much. It's like, to be Mariah Carey and only have as many Grammys as you do, like between her, Ariana Grande, and a few other artists, like, y'all owe a lot of apologies around here, Grammys. So getting out of the facts and just my personal opinion, I remember this album when it came out. Again, it was like a week before my 10th birthday. My birthday is April 19th. It came out April 12th. So you already know that when I heard this, when I wanted the same album, my mom wanted the album as well. But unfortunately, she didn't buy it. She was in her CD burning phase. I don't know what that is, CD burning, but that was when you took the albums off the internet and downloaded them onto your CD through various websites that we used to mess with. That brought a whole lot of viruses. Don't do that anymore, y'all. Buy the music. Stream the music, buy the music. So she brought that CD home. We listened to it. A lot of the songs were out of order. When I came to find out and listen to the actual album, I was like, wow, this I thought this song came out of the... No, apparently not. But this is one of those albums that I wore out on my massive stereo system that was like, it was at least like 2 feet high with 2 big ass speakers next to them. You know, I was yes, I'm kind of showing my age right now. And then I had like a CD player that I would put in my backpack when I would walk to school, and just prayed that the books and all that wouldn't knock around my CD too bad when it started skipping and causing scratches on that thing. It was just, my personal favorite songs on this album was Mine Again, Circles, Joyride, Fly Like a Bird, and Don't Forget About Us. Those are my favorite songs. Honestly, I wore this whole CD out. And I think we all did. I remember hearing It's Like That, We Belong Together, Shake It Off, all over the radio. My brother would tell me when we were younger that he didn't know she said, I gotta shake it off. He thought that she said, I got a sugar roll. And I'm like, a sugar roll? Like, why would she want a sugar roll that damn bad? Like, why would she want a sugar roll, bro? Like, come on now. What I love that growing up as a millennial, like, I really got to see, like, this album take on a life of its own. Like, when I got older, I realized how many people listened to this album and was truly affected like I was. It's just amazing. You know, anybody who listened to R&B during this time heard this album. You go under any viral post that's on social media that says, what's a no-skip album? And you would see 20 billion people sit there and say, Emancipation to meet me, Emancipation to meet me, Emancipation. You know, it was just like all you would see is just the fact that Mariah Carey literally brought one of the best albums of our childhood to life. And she can never get enough praise for that, honestly. And let's be honest, Mariah Carey is never a stranger to success. And even her lowest of times eclipses any modern day artist to this day. When I listen back to this monumental album, I'm reminded that you do not have to rely on drugs and obscenities, you know, and you can rely on actual strong vocals to carry a good party record, a good R&B party record. We take so much for granted that we as singers, artists can do, and rely on tropes and what's popular, trends. A lot of times that takes a lot of the heart out of these records to this day. Why people cannot relate to a lot of this or feel like they can like truly go back and listen to a lot of these records today, because everything is so generic and so easily palatable, or even like not enough risk taking and not enough like differences. There's not enough differences between artists of today and the next one, you know? All these songs on the Emancipation of Mimi have a genuine, positive disposition to them. Even when the topics may not be the happiest. We Belong Together, Mine Again, Don't Forget About Us, talk about a love that's lost, but she's open to reuniting with them. Circles and I Wish You Knew talks about a love that's stagnant or even one-sided, but she still wants to make it work. So there's always that like negative but a positive connotation to them all and on each one. She's never just like moping around. She's just like, but I want to make this work. I need this to work. Like I'm genuinely feeling good about this, you know. Even the closer track, Fly Like a Bird, is a classic Mariah Carey inspirational ballad. But I compare it to like that cold glass of water that you take after you spent all night with your dancing with your boo, with your best friends in the club, and it's just that nice cool glass of water that you just take and you're just like, ooh, you know, and then you're like ready to go home, get in your warm cozy bed and just realize how much of a great day you just had. You know, that's how Fly Like a Bird comes off to me, where it's just like, I just feel great after dealing with all this. And I think it's because the Emancipation of Mimi never really has low moments. The energy is always there, even in its slower moments. It's always there, which Mariah Carey has done a great job at perfecting over her run. You know, it's just, she just knows what to do. When you look back at this era, you have to think about the performances and her image. You know, Mariah Carey, she's always post Butterfly sold sexy, but she never put the sexy and, the image before the product. At the end of the day, when you look back at the Grammys performance, that was one of the most R&B and gospel moments we ever seen on the Grammy stage, and I don't think we'll ever get that kind of energy again at this rate. You could look at her and say she looks amazing, but then also in the same breath, you're gonna talk about the vocals. You're gonna talk about that song, how well she did, how well she performed. And I know we can't expect Mariah Carey caliber vocals out of everybody because it's Mariah Carey. She's like one of the best singers in the whole world. Like, she's literally considered one of the best singers of all time. You can't compare that. It's just unless you're Whitney Houston, you're not like in the same caliber as that. This album just shows that the title is fitting. It was truly an emancipation. She's able to do what she wants, and she did just that. And that just sets her apart from everybody else. She's Mariah Carey, Songbird Supreme. All right, so if you guys like this video, like this kind of content, again, make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe to my channel. Follow me on TikTok at Myles Awai. Follow me on Instagram at Myles Awai, MYLESAWAI. And I will see y'all again later. Bye. Oh, and do you like my Emancipation outfit? She was wearing that glitter, that gold on the album, and she was just like, I'm like, I try to emulate her a little bit. I wanted to be emancipated. Emancipate me.